The Haunting of Crestwood Manor. It was a crisp autumn evening when Emily received the letter. The envelope was old and yellowed, the edges frayed from years of storage. Her name was written in an elegant, flowing script she didn't recognize. She opened it with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. Dear Miss Emily Bennet, you are cordially invited to Crestwood Manor to witness the reading of the last will and testament of your late great-uncle, Reginald Crestwood. The event will take place on the 30th of October at 7 p.m. Your presence is highly anticipated. Sincerely, Henry Lawson, ESQ Crestwood family attorney. Emily's heart skipped a beat. She had never met her great-uncle, and her family had never mentioned him. Crestwood Manor was a place she had only heard about in whispers, a grand, old estate shrouded in mystery and tales of hauntings. Are you really going to go? Her roommate, Sarah, asked when Emily showed her the letter. How can I not? This could be the adventure of a lifetime, Emily replied, trying to mask her unease with a smile. On the evening of October 30th, Emily drove through the dense woods leading to Crestwood Manor. The towering trees seemed to close in around her, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. As she rounded a bend, the manor came into view, a massive, Gothic structure looming against the darkening sky. The front doors were open, and a butler greeted her as she stepped out of her car. Miss Bennet, welcome to Crestwood Manor. Please, follow me. Inside, the manor was even more imposing. Dark wood paneling, antique furniture, and portraits of stern-looking ancestors lined the walls. The air was thick with the scent of old books and something else, something musty and damp. Henry Lawson, a tall, thin man with a severe expression, met her in the drawing room. Miss Bennet, thank you for coming. The other guests are already here. Emily was led to a grand dining room where a group of people sat around a long, polished table. She recognized none of them. This is Mr. Jonathan Hale, Mrs. Margaret Sloane, and Mr. Peter Dunn, Henry introduced them. All distant relatives or associates of your late great-uncle. Emily took her seat, feeling the weight of their curious gazes. The atmosphere was tense, the flickering candlelight casting eerie shadows on the walls. Henry cleared his throat and began reading the will. Reginald Crestwood had been a wealthy but reclusive man, leaving behind a considerable fortune. To Emily's surprise, her name was mentioned. To my great-niece, Emily Bennet, I leave Crestwood Manor and its contents, under the condition that she must stay here for 1 week, starting tonight. Should she fail to do so, the entire estate will be sold, and the proceeds donated to charity. The room erupted into murmurs. Emily felt a chill run down her spine. Stay here? For a week? In this eerie old house? As the night progressed, the guests were shown to their rooms. Emily's room was at the far end of the west wing, a large, cold chamber with a 4-poster bed and heavy drapes. She unpacked her things, trying to ignore the sense of unease that had settled over her. That night, Emily struggled to sleep. The house was filled with strange noises, creaking floorboards, distant whispers, and the occasional thud. She tossed and turned, finally drifting off into a restless sleep. She was awoken by a soft, persistent knocking. Groggy and disoriented, she sat up and listened. The sound was coming from behind the wardrobe. Heart pounding, she got out of bed and approached it. The knocking grew louder. Taking a deep breath, she opened the wardrobe door. To her astonishment, she found a small, hidden door at the back. The knocking stopped. Mustering her courage, she opened the small door and peered inside. It led to a narrow, dark passageway. Against her better judgment, she stepped inside, feeling her way along the cold, stone walls. The passage twisted and turned, finally opening into a dimly lit room. In the center stood a small, ornate table with an old, leather-bound book on it. Emily approached the table, her fingers trembling as she reached for the book. The cover was inscribed with strange symbols she didn't recognize. She opened it, and her breath caught in her throat. The pages were filled with handwritten notes and sketches, detailed accounts of the Crestwood family history, along with cryptic warnings and descriptions of dark rituals. A cold breeze swept through the room, and the candle flickered, casting dancing shadows on the walls. Emily's eyes widened as she read a passage describing the curse of Crestwood Manor, a malevolent spirit bound to the house, seeking revenge on the living. The next morning, Emily shared her discovery with the other guests. They were skeptical, but the strange occurrences of the previous night had unnerved them. "We need to find out more about this curse," Emily insisted. "There must be records or journals somewhere in the manor." They spent the day searching the manor, uncovering more hidden rooms and secret passages. They found letters, diaries, and old photographs, all hinting at a dark and troubled history. As night fell, the atmosphere grew even more oppressive. The air was thick with tension, and the house seemed to come alive with ghostly whispers and eerie sounds. Emily felt a growing sense of dread. Whatever haunted Crestwood Manor was growing stronger. That night, the first tragedy struck. Mrs. Margaret Sloane, one of the guests, was found dead in her room. Her face was twisted in a grimace of terror, her eyes wide open as if she had seen something horrific. Panic spread through the house. The remaining guests were terrified, and suspicion fell on Emily. After all, she was the one who stood to inherit the manor. "This is madness," Emily protested. "I didn't do anything. We need to stick together and find out what's happening here." But fear and paranoia had taken hold. The guests retreated to their rooms, locking their doors and staying on high alert. Determined to uncover the truth, Emily spent the night poring over the old books she had found. The notes described a ritual that could bind or banish the spirit haunting the manor. But it required several items, some of which were hidden in the manor's deepest, darkest corners. The next morning, she approached Jonathan and Peter. "We need to perform this ritual. It's the only way to stop whatever is haunting this place." Reluctantly, they agreed. Together, they searched the manor for the necessary items: a silver chalice, a mirror, a lock of hair from a family member, and a candle made of tallow. As they gathered the items, the hauntings grew more intense. The walls seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy, and the air was thick with an unearthly chill. On the final night, they prepared for the ritual in the grand hall. The air was heavy with anticipation, and every shadow seemed to hide a lurking menace. They arranged the items according to the instructions in the book, and Emily began to recite the incantation. As she spoke the ancient words, the room grew colder, and the candlelight flickered ominously. A low, guttural growl echoed through the hall, and a dark, shadowy figure began to materialize before them. The spirit was a grotesque, twisted form, its eyes burning with a malevolent fury. It lunged at Emily, but she stood her ground, continuing the incantation with unwavering determination. The room shook, and the other guests watched in terror as the spirit writhed and screamed. With a final, ear-piercing shriek, the spirit was pulled into the mirror, and the manor fell silent. The morning light brought a sense of calm and relief. The oppressive atmosphere had lifted, and the manor felt like just an old house again. Emily and the remaining guests gathered in the drawing room, exhausted but grateful to be alive. Henry Lawson arrived later that day, looking pale and shaken. "Miss Bennet, it seems you have fulfilled the conditions of the will. Crestwood Manor is now yours." Emily nodded, her thoughts still on the horrors they had faced. "Thank you, Mr. Lawson. But I think I'll need some time to decide what to do with the manor." Emily decided to stay at Crestwood Manor, determined to uncover more of its secrets and ensure the spirits of the past were laid to rest. She invited Sarah to join her, and together they began to restore the manor, turning it into a place of history and learning. The other guests returned to their lives, forever changed by their experience. They remained in touch with Emily, sharing their stories and supporting each other. As the years passed, Crestwood Manor became a place of refuge and curiosity, attracting historians, researchers, and those seeking answers to the mysteries of the past. Emily's courage and determination had turned a haunted house into a beacon of hope and knowledge. But on quiet nights, when the wind whispered through the trees and the shadows danced in the candlelight, Emily could still feel the presence of her great-uncle, watching over her, proud of the legacy she was building. Years later, as Emily walked through the halls of Crestwood Manor, she marveled at how far it had come. The once dark and foreboding mansion was now a vibrant center of activity and learning. She had uncovered many secrets of the Crestwood family and had ensured that the spirits were at peace. One evening, while working late in the library, she found an old letter tucked inside one of the books. It was from her great-uncle, Reginald Crestwood. Dear Emily, if you are reading this, then you have discovered the true legacy of Crestwood Manor. I always believed that the manor held more than just memories, it held the potential for understanding, for healing, and for discovery. I knew you were the one who could unlock its secrets and transform its legacy. Thank you for your bravery and your dedication. The manor is now in good hands, and I am at peace knowing it will continue to thrive under your care. With gratitude, Reginald Crestwood. Emily smiled, her heart filled with a sense of accomplishment and connection to her family's past. She knew that Crestwood Manor would continue to be a place of wonder and discovery for generations to come, and she was proud to be a part of its story.